They raise bonds. They create debt without taxpayer approval. Okay? And I'll explain to you guys how this information was found out. Primarily, paying checks, Marvin never uses cash or credit card to pay for anything at the courthouse. He always uses a check. And once a check is negotiated or processed, on the back of the check it has all the routing numbers, okay? The routing numbers and usually a phone number, so you can call and find out who it is. Otherwise, you can use something called the Public Records Act. I don't care what state you're in, everyone has a Public Records Act. And in some cases, if you're dealing on a federal level, you can do it under Freedom of Information. Now, under Public Records Act requests, in California and Hawaii and other states, I'm sure it's across the board, it's the same. If they fail to answer, it's a $1,000 fine. So it's all about how you put it on a piece of paper. But the law is created for your benefit in the event, at least we would like to think, it's created for our benefit, that there is a particular check and balance, but they tuck it away or they hide it away in codes. But what are codes? By definition, they're something that's used to hide something. The military uses codes all the time to hide their communications, etc. So the money that is paid to the Judges Association is used to pay off anonymous bonds. Okay? The anonymous bonds are issued through Merrill Lynch and other associations, but Merrill Lynch is the primary bad guy. And we have paperwork that demonstrates this. Marvin got a judge thrown in jail and some prosecuting attorneys, and there's more on the way. Because, you know, you ever heard of judicial immunity? Well, guess what? You don't sue the judge, you sue his association. Or you find the evidence of the wrongdoing through Public Records Act requests, or you trace the money on the check, and then you present the data to the grand jury, and they got to investigate it. And then they got a problem. So, as a result, Credit Suisse and Bank of America are the primary underwriters on those bonds. And a company by the name of DTC, it's called Department of Trust Corporation, controls the bonds. But guess what? DTC is ran by the Federal Reserve board members. Okay? If you take a look at who's on the payroll, it's all a complex matrix and how do they want you to pay? You're not using gold or silver to pay at the courts. I tried to pay them. They don't take the stuff. I tried to use all kinds of stuff at the courts, guys. But they want that Federal Reserve note product, a private product that's, you know, set up under a sham situation, 1913, set up the same time as the IRS, 1913, and there's some other agencies which I won't mention that were set up in 1913 too, which is a little kooky. I'll tell you later. So, I like to call these things Anani bonds. The interest on the Anani bonds is paid through the court fees, fines, and restitution, and along with forfeitures. So, when you get convicted, you know, in a traffic ticket matter, not only do you pay, you know, let's say it's $100. Usually, there's a statutory limit on traffic tickets. But what do they do to create more revenue? They give you what's called a penalty assessment. Last time I checked that I was in court was 170% penalty assessment. So you pay an additional 170% on the top of the $500 fine for traveling down the highway, you know, on the high seas as they would call it, etc. So the credit rating of the anonymous bonds that are issued by Merrill Lynch in association with Bank of America and Depository Trust Corporation in association with the Federal Reserve, who is in association with the IRS, based out of Puerto Rico, is all based, the credit rating's performance is based on or determined by the courts or the banking business ability to arrest, prosecute, and convict, or with respect to civil matters, litigate. So what we have here is a perpetual meat grinder that's feeding off itself. It's infinite because it's a system that is endlessly perpetuating itself, and the more you use Federal Reserve notes, the more there's national debt, the more money that needs to be paid to the IRS. But let's take a further look at what the bonds are for. The bonds, the finance payment to contractors for the building of more courthouses. Okay, so what I'm saying is it's perpetual. They do more than courthouses, but that's the principal amount. Well, they're all, they're probably all in concert. Not even probably. I mean, the buildings look the same even. So, but they also build things as post offices. Now, interestingly, in the city of Van Nuys, the Van Nuys courthouse, Marvin Breyer found out that the courthouse, the entire courthouse, was bought for $5 by a judge. And Marvin, by the way, has disqualified basically the entire bench. There's no judge that can't hear Marvin's case, because what he does is he uses Public Records Act requests, FOIA, and he also goes down to the local library and pulls the judge's statement of economic interests. Once a judge becomes a judge, they have to give their entire profile, where their money is going, and they might have some stuff offshore and etc. that you might not be able to find. But for the most part, the way he creams these guys is he finds out, okay, who's this guy ruled on? He'll pull their whole case history, how many cases he's ruled on, and he'll see, well, he ruled on a case dealing with McDonald's, and he owns stock in McDonald's. So he reverses entire court cases or kicks judges off because there's a conflict of interest. So it's all based on money, conflict of interest. And he also finds out through Freedom of Information, or namely Public Records Act. In one instance, he found out the judge had a brain tumor. But he's still making all these decisions off the bench. And he walks right into court, especially when he's powered up about their conflicts of interest or he's tracked the check. What he does is he'll buy like one page of the docket, costs $1. The next day he'll go back and buy another page of the docket. And what will happen is none of the checks that he's using to reflect pages of the docket being bought are not showing up when he has all the invoices reflecting that he's purchased the stuff. So, and then he tracks the money, finds out that it's going to the Judges Association, etc., and he generates more conflicts of interest. And what Marvin will do is he'll go into someone else's court case. Say your court case was litigated on like 6 months ago, and you already got the book thrown at you. He'll go in and buy a page of your docket and track where the money goes, and finds out that it went to the Judges Association, and he'll file a complaint against the judge, and he can get your whole case reversed based on conflict of interest. The judge is going to jail, and your case is reversed non-pro-tunc, as if it never happened. So. But the principle that the reason why I'm trying to present this information, because these guys have inherent weaknesses. And our system, and I believe in the concept of law as agreement between the parties based on natural law principles. Whether you look at the Bible or any particular belief system, there's common natural law principles that if most people never violated, we never have a particular problem. So in any regards, you hit them where it hurts, and it's the money. Because anytime these guys are fooling with money, they have a bad habit. And it's usually as a result of their misappropriation of funds. And you guys want proof?